Have you ever wondered how the artificial intelligence built into hearing aids actually works? In fact, were you even aware that some hearing aids have AI built into them? Well, Oticon have built on their previous hearing aid technology, and today I'm announcing the release of the Oticon Intent. So stick around to learn about its new features, when exactly it's available from, and if it's suitable for you and your hearing loss. Thinking about it now, it hasn't been all that long since we saw the release of Oticon's last round of technology. From their custom hearing aids the Oticon owns, which were released in September 2022 and included the IIC, CIC, ITC, and ITE models, to their receiver and canal style of hearing aids, which were released less than a year ago in March 2023, and included their receiver and canal Mini Right R and Mini Right T, their behind-the-ear Mini BTE-R and Mini BTE-T, and their cross system, designed for any of you out there with single-sided deafness. Now, I have to say that when the Oticon Reels came out, yes, there was a development over and above its predecessor, which is the More family of hearing aids. However, we only really saw two minor tweaks with this technology. Firstly was the addition of their wind and noise handling feature, which is designed to eliminate any annoying wind sounds when you're outdoors that might interfere with your conversations, and also soften the annoying sounds that you experience when you touch your hearing aids or when your hair brushes on your microphones. If you're somebody that's experienced this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Then their second minor change was the introduction of their sudden sound stabilizer, which, as the name suggests, is designed to detect sudden sounds and control them so that, yes, that they're audible, but at the same time, they're not uncomfortably loud or intrusive. And then they still allow for the preservation of speech clarity. Now, other than that, this technology was pretty much identical to the Oticon More family of hearing aids, despite what Oticon might tell you. And I have to be honest that the update was, let's say, a little bit underwhelming. Now, if you've watched many of my videos here on YouTube, you know that I absolutely love a poll. And these are the results of a recent poll on the most important things that you guys want from a hearing aid. As you can see here, the results are mainly around hearing in noise and speech clarity. And of course, there was nothing in the comments about wind and handling noise. So in my opinion, you will be delighted with Oticon's developments today, as their new technology is more in line with what you all want from a hearing aid. So building on this, I would love to know what's the most important thing for you guys watching this today. Is it hearing in noise? Is it cosmetics, connectivity, rechargeability, or even speech clarity? Let me know in the comments beneath this video. So this is exactly why I'm pretty excited to announce Oticon's latest innovation, the Oticon Intent Mini Right R receiver and canal hearing aid, which will be available from February the 27th, 2024. Now, there have been a few changes, that's both inside and out, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you these details today, starting with the obvious, which is their brand new design. Now, you may be thinking, well, so what? But this is the first time we've seen a redesign of Oticon's receiver and canal hearing aids for 3 generations now. And this goes back to their Open S Mini Right R. So I personally welcome the change, as it's Oticon's smallest ever Bluetooth receiver and canal hearing aid to date. This new design is indeed a little shorter than their previous hearing aid technology, which I'm sure most of you will welcome if discretion is important to you. But at the same time, it's also a fraction bulkier. So I do wonder how that will feel when it's sat behind your ear, especially when competing for space for anybody wearing glasses out there. You'll notice that in the redesign, Oticon have also removed the rocker switch that they had on the Oticon Reel, which I did personally quite like due to its flexibility, and they've replaced it now with a single button on the back of the hearing aid. Whilst the buttons on hearing aids aren't as important as they used to be because everything is done on the app now, there are still a lot of my patients out there that like to have the flexibility to be able to use both. The only other physical thing to mention today are the different colors, of which you could choose from these 9, including a new sky blue color. You'll notice that they're all matted nowadays, so they don't tend to catch the light, and the most popular color that my patients tend to choose in clinic is this chroma beige color. As far as what's going on inside this technology, this is where it gets super interesting. Now, last week I was fortunate enough to catch up with the Oticon team and get the lowdown on exactly what they've done to develop these hearing aids over and above the Oticon Reels. And it's safe to say they have some pretty unique features. So starting with its brand new chip called Sirius. Sirius? which is the first new chip that we've seen from Oticon for a couple of generations now. And from my understanding, all of these new features are technically based on their previous chip, the Polaris R, but with 3 key features for a better understanding of speech clarity in the presence of background noise. So firstly, with the improvement of their deep neural network. Now, Oticon have been boasting for a couple of generations now about the way they use artificial intelligence to train their hearing aids to recognize the environment around you and then decide on what you're most likely to want to be able to hear. And this is done using 12 million different sound scenes to train those hearing aids. Well, within this new technology, they've taken the DNN one step further, literally one step further, with DNN 2.0, which has been trained using an even greater diversity of sound scenes and therefore should enable an even greater accurate representation of what you want to hear, giving you better access to speech sounds, whatever listening environment that you're in. Within the DNN 2.0 is Oticon's More Sound Intelligence 3.0, which is Oticon's collection of noise reduction features, which are designed to make it easier for you to follow and engage in conversations in more complicated listening situations, such as groups, crowds, or noisy listening environments, say a restaurant, for example. Oticon states that your hearing aids will constantly scan your environment and then organize and deliver the most appropriate sound based on that training that I spoke about before from the deep neural network, highlighting the sounds that will be of interest and reducing the sounds that you're less likely to want to hear. Oticon's research shows that their new More Sound Intelligence 3.0 will allow up to a 12 decibel noise suppression, improving the signal-to-noise ratio and giving you access to 35% more speech cues, which could result in a greater amount of clarity and distinction in general conversations. Now, I've got to tell you that this is my favorite of the new features, as a lot of the improvements that I've just mentioned are down to this new 4D sensor technology, which I have to say sounds pretty awesome. Oticon have finally joined the likes of Phonak, Signia, Starkey and Resound and added motion sensors into their hearing aids. And whilst they're pretty late to the party, when you hear what I'm about to tell you that it does, you'll probably agree that it was well worth the wait. Oticon are claiming that by monitoring both conversational activity, your head and your body movement, plus the environment around you, these hearing aids are the first in the world to recognize when your needs change and adapt the settings accordingly, improving speech comprehension by 15% when this feature is enabled. 15%. So imagine being in a restaurant, which is exactly where Oticon state that this 4D sensor technology would shine, and their previous technology would have reacted the same for all of these 3 scenarios. Firstly, a waiter walking around would need to hear sound coming from all directions, as they were taking care of different tables and in conversations with multiple people. Whereas in a second scenario, if there was somebody greeting customers entering the restaurant, their hearing aids would need to work differently again. And then in the third scenario, there might be a group of people sat around a table, and the hearing aids would need to react differently again, which is all done by the hearing aids monitoring their conversations, head and body movement, and the environmental noise. 3 scenarios with each person surrounded by the same background noise, but all with different needs. All I'll say is that these are some pretty big claims coming from Oticon, so I'm looking forward to fitting them in a few patients' ears and feeding this back to you guys watching. As far as the suitability for this hearing aid, these images show the fitting ranges for the Oticon Intent. So, if your hearing loss falls within the grey shaded area, then they're technically suitable for you, with the receivers being interchangeable between either a 60, 85, 100 or 105 decibel power level. So whether you have a mild, moderate, severe or profound hearing loss, they can be adapted to suit your needs, which is something that your audiologist should choose for you depending on your specific hearing test results. They're available in 4 different technology levels, the Intent 1, 2, 3 or 4, with the former being the most advanced of all 4 hearing aids. Now, I can't not talk about connectivity today and the challenges that Oticon have experienced with connectivity over the last 12 months. And I have to be honest, whatever they've done in the last year regarding connectivity and their companion app has been a complete disaster. Bluetooth is such a basic feature built into most hearing aids nowadays, with all hearing aid manufacturers allowing for the streaming of phone calls and media, such as music, the radio, or podcasts, directly from your phone to your hearing aids. Now, I don't entirely know where Oticon have gone wrong, but they have had so many connectivity issues within the last 12 months, with either the hearing aids not connecting at all, or sometimes connecting but connecting to one aid rather than both, or connecting to the app but not the hearing aids, or maybe streaming in one ear but not the next. And as a result, this has without question resulted in patients choosing to go ahead with different hearing aids rather than Oticon's hearing aids. So why am I telling you this? Well, it looks like they have completely overhauled the connectivity side of their hearing aids for good reason. Firstly, with the introduction of LE audio. Now, if you're not familiar with LE audio, then make sure you're sitting down, as you're not going to want to miss this feature. In the future, you'll be able to walk into concert halls, conferences, train stations, and lectures, and the sound of whoever's speaking will be sent directly to both of your hearing aids, all with the press of a button. Now, I happen to have heard on the grapevine that all hearing aid manufacturers are currently working together to have this installed in their hearing aids. And from this update, this means that we now have on board both ReSound, Signia, and Oticon. In my opinion, in the next few years, we'll start to see this Auracast audio replace the century-old loop systems built into public venues, and will allow for multiple hearing aid users to simultaneously connect to audio in public spaces, all with an improvement in sound quality with significantly lower battery consumption. Now, the only downside is that at the moment, this will only be useful when venues start to install these costly transmitters. So I think that it's going to be quite some time before we start seeing this technology taking off. Now, until this Auracast technology takes off and is installed in public venues, I am pleased to announce that the Intents still have a built-in Telecoil, which is essentially a 20th century version of LE audio. So it allows for the streaming of sound in a public venue directly to both of your hearing aids anywhere that you'll have seen this sign in the past. And it can make a huge difference at the likes of the theatre, church, or any other public venue. I'm actually really pleased that Oticon understand the lag between rolling out LE audio and it being installed in these public venues, and still giving you access to both of these types of technology in the interim. This also tells me that from Oticon's point of view, they're not expecting it to take off anytime soon. Moving on to their rechargeability updates, we've recently seen some big changes from the likes of Signia, Widex, and Starkey with their rechargeability, with battery capacities increasing to over 30 hours on a single charge. So, whilst Oticon have made improvements to their rechargeability, they've taken a slightly different approach. By increasing the size of their batteries, a single charge will now only take 2 hours, rather than the 3 that we've seen in previous hearing aid technology from them. And if one day you fall asleep on the sofa and forget to put them on charge, the next morning you can supercharge them for 15 minutes and that will give you 4 hours of usage, or if you make it 30 minutes, they'll last for 8 hours. Unfortunately, they've taken away one rechargeable feature that was unique to Oticon and incredibly helpful for keeping your hearing aids in your ears. Now, you see, with all lithium-ion rechargeable technology, the health of batteries deteriorates over a period of time. And this isn't just limited to hearing aids, it happens with your phone, your laptop, or any other portable technology. With Oticon's previous hearing aid technology, audiologists used to be able to switch out those rechargeable batteries and replace them with new ones on site if there was ever an issue with the battery life. However, sadly, they've not given this ability with these new Intents. So if there's an issue with your batteries, we'll now have to send the whole hearing aid away to Oticon HQ for repair. Now, saying that, Oticon are pretty confident that with the development of their new battery technology, there should be an improvement in its capacity lasting for between 4 to 5 years. So, I guess you better tune in 5 years' time to see if they hold up to their promises. So I'm assured that there are a set of these hearing aids en route to me as we speak, so that I can give you a full review in no time whatsoever. Now, before reviewing any of this technology, I normally wait until I've fitted them to a few patients' ears and got some valuable feedback from them. What I will say is that none of this matters if you haven't compared Oticon's technology to all of the other manufacturers out there at the moment, which you'll find in this video.